Hi, very good morning to you. It's Jim from Avstar Observatory. Not sure where to start in all these things I want to get through in this brief video. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible, but I've written a few bullet points down. I suppose we can start with a few of those. Main thing is that there's going to be some facts at the end of this video, so it's worth waiting till we get to there, I suppose, if you're interested in facts and not just fiction, because there is a considerable amount of that being distributed now all over the internet, and it's even concerning for governments that they accuse us of misinformation just as much as we accuse them for misinformation. So it's a good idea I suppose to clarify some things that are important. Let's start with, first of all, have you got your bug out kit ready yet? I'll go through what's in this kit so that if you're unsure what to put in your bug out kit, but have you at least got one backpack like this that you can throw on your shoulder in an emergency? I'll tell you what's in there. Emergency shelter, some surgical equipment, there's a bit of medication, things to build fires with without gas and electric, like strikers, and things to make an emergency shelter even when that emergency shelter fails. There's lots of stuff in there, so we'll do a bug out bag video at a later date, but you need to get one if you haven't got one right now, because of all the real things that we're facing. You should have one of those, because if you've got that bag in an emergency, at least you start the new day after whatever devastation you've gone through with a bit of hope. And that bag can help you purify water, can feed your family, and a lot of other things aside of that. If you haven't got that, you need to get that right now. Another thing that you might consider getting is an NBC suit. This one is actually out of date, and you can pick these up really cheap. I'm talking pounds on eBay, and you should get one of those for your family and loved ones, along with one of these. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we could possibly be at war in the coming weeks with Russia. They have 5,500 nuclear missiles, and we are definitely provoking them in the West by supplying the Ukraine with all the weapons to kill Russian soldiers. As far as I'm concerned, we're already at war with Russia as a result of what we're doing. It's just a matter of how much will Russia take before they snap at us. And let's face it, once we engage in war, we probably have in the West with NATO enough to destroy Russia, and possibly even China along with it if they want to back up Russia. But the inevitable will be a nuclear exchange. It's like I've been talking about in previous videos. Some of the main things that scientists are really concerned about the times that we're in right now, are two things: climate change and the threat of a nuclear war. And if you haven't got these simple things for your families, you're not preparing, and you're not certainly looking after their interests. You need the basic provisions. And I understand, look, I'm a scientist, I understand firstly that if there is even a minimal exchange of nuclear weapons over the Northern Hemisphere, it will plunge it back into a nuclear winter. But people will survive. People survived Chernobyl. And if you look at what's going on Chernobyl right now, where that place was massively radiated, there are wildlife, there are trees still growing, there's grass still growing. And over time, the soil will build up and bury most of the contaminated soil, and life will go on. But if you haven't got just the simple things that are cheaply and widely available for you and your loved ones, you've already at that point given up the fight to survive. Now, I want to just get on with one thing. Right, I follow, like you do, some of the channels that are talking about some of these events. One of them, or a couple of them, are mainly involved with food shortages, and there's one I watched this morning that's going on about here in the UK. You can't buy free-range eggs anymore because they've all been gassed and killed through avian flu. It's not true. This is the free-range eggs I bought this morning. You can see the date on there. You know, it hasn't even surpassed the sell-by date. So they are widely available. They talk about the shelves being empty in shops. Yep, the shelves are fully stocked at the moment. Yes, food is going to increase, and it's going to increase because, you know, those things that align the prices to increase are already taking place. One of them is fuel costs have gone up because the West has decided not to use Russian crude oil or diesel, petroleum products, as well as LPG gas. So if we're having to pay more for those things, then, you know, it makes sense that the logistics are going to go up. The cost of getting the produce not just out of the ground but to the shops is going to go up. And if energy is going to go up, then, you know, the cost of fertilizers is going to go up. So it's, you know, the start product is going to always end up on the ended price when you purchase it. So these things are on the increase. Now, I hear not just that, you know, rumours that we can't get things like free range eggs. We can get those things, and obviously the shops are fully stocked at the moment. Yes, the prices are marginally going up along with the energy costs as well. But what we try and do on this channel is give you the realistics. And what we mean by that is that, you know, when you compare some of the truths that are talked on other channels, and then they add in their extra bits as well. And, you know, to me, I can easily prove that wrong, like I did with the free range eggs. You can still buy free range eggs. You know, the shops aren't empty at the moment. And yes, there will be a knock-on effect with the war in Ukraine, which will send up, you know, some commodities in the months to come. We're going to see that. But what they throw in is like Alice in Wonderland scenarios. We've always tried to keep it real on this channel. You know, we've told people that, you know, we're returning into an ice age, already 6,000 years into that. There is, and it is widely agreed on and known, a magnetic reversal taking place. And we can show you, as we will do later on at the end of this video, the facts and the evidence that support these things, like a grand solar minimum. We can see over the last 35 years that there has been a massive reduction in the sun's output in concession as the years have gone on from that point. So these things are real. You know, we know we're not making up stories when we say that, you know, the weakening magnetosphere will increase cancers across the range, will add to, you know, the leading up to heart attacks caused through the change in you know, cardiac arrhythmias. You know, these things are widely accepted. None of this is just made up. What I'm talking about with some of them, I get like questions, what do you think of the Thunderbolt project and the electric universe? You know, I've said to people, and they didn't like it when I said it to them, is like, what is this? It's like reinventing the wheel, really. Do you not think as a scientist that on the atomic and subatomic scale that there is not magnetic interactions taking place? So if we're talking about the atoms that make up the universe, then surely it is an electric universe. You know, there's nothing new there. Only some people are trying to make it new, and there's nothing new there. You know, another one is looking at ancient cave drawings and trying to compare them with, you know, modern day atmospheric anomalies, like the squatting man in caveman drawings that we see. How do we know it wasn't a religion? Give me some evidence that I can then relate to, and yeah, I might agree with that. But until we see this evidence, then it's just speculation. I don't give a lot of value to speculation. You know, one of the things we've tried to do here on this YouTube channel and on our website is dedicated to fact and not fiction. You know, I don't know of any other website or YouTube channel that has actually gone beyond talking about regurgitated news that everyone seems to be doing. You know, they go looking for, and I could mention names, I won't do that because you guys know who they are. Let me tell you something now. Judge these people that you watch by what they deliver. If it's just regurgitated news, if they're covering just weather anomalies, then you know all they're doing is nothing new. You might as well switch on your mainstream media and listen to that bullshit, because if we are concerned with trying to get the facts, then you need to go a little bit further than just regurgitate what you come across on websites. You need to actually go out there and collect the information yourselves. That's what we did here at the observatory. It doesn't seem to go appreciated. You know, we've probably raised half of what we raised last month as a result of, you know, doing things the way we do. And, you know, people say to me, oh, why don't you do some merchandise? What's the point? What, you want me to spend £3 on a baseball cap so I can charge you £10 for that baseball cap? Another baseball cap that you don't need and you wouldn't want anyhow? What is the point? I'm not going to go down that route of selling cups and key rings and bumper stickers to raise some money, to prove a point. You know, the point has been proven. What we cover are actual events that are taking place, and those are threefold, and they've been the same for a long time. Grand solar minimum, magnetic pole reversal, and the returning to a glacial period. These are real events that are taking place. We don't need to incorporate Alice in Wonderland and red and green pills for you. You can check our results and you'll see that what we are delivering is accurate information on the current events, and we're covering other anomalies. You know, we deal with a lot of people, as you can imagine. 42,000 subscribers draws in a lot of different ideas, and we cover a lot of other events because people have shown concern about them, like, you know, monitoring regularly the amount of earthquakes that are happening and the magnitudes of those, you know, monitoring the amount of volcanoes that are active. And I will say this now, we have less volcanoes active in general than what we did 3 years ago. So, you know, people are even now more concerned that these amount of volcanoes that are erupting are more than what we need, or they are leading up to, you know, something really critical, like a displacement of the crust of the earth, which is, you know, just crazy. It's not. You know, our volcanoes are reducing in eruptions and activity, not increasing. But what these people will do is they will show you this volcano erupting, and they'll present it in a way where this is increasing, we need to be concerned. And it's not. It's just hysteria, alarmism. We are dealing with some real issues with, you know, mainstream media not recording current events. They will still, you know, target, like I pointed out in a video a couple of days ago, an unusual amount of heating over the Antarctic and Arctic circles. And I explained, well, you know, the reason for that is because we've got jet stream interaction between the subtropical and polar over the northern and southern hemispheres. You know, this is an anomaly that's been on the increase for the last 30 years. You know, another anomaly which will be recorded soon in the media will be the interchange between the subtropical regions or jet streams over the northern hemisphere with the subtropical region and jet stream over the southern hemisphere. You know, these interchanges are not common, but they will become common, you know, as we progress into this continuation of this reversal. You know, I invested a lot of time 10 years ago to really nail down, you know, the issues that are current, are real, and that are taking place right now with our Earth. And because there wasn't a lot of people out there freely willing to do this, and I'm including also these mainstream organisations like NASA, NOAA, the European Space Agency, I took it upon ourselves here to make an observatory that would cover those, not just with the information that we can gather to verify from other resources, but the information that we gather here ourselves. You know, we took out the time to spend 2 years to program the electronics to build the TriMag system, which tracks the magnetic North Pole position. And we probably do that on a resolution more than any other organisation, even the European Space Agency with the Swarm mission. We record that data every 3 seconds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. We've done it without fail for 4 years. We've also got some equipment out in the field, you know, and occasionally we get, you know, regular updates from these people. Although recently we haven't had much data from a couple of the locations, and no need to, you know, mention who they are, but the equipment was sent out there, and occasionally we get the data. So we've got equipment in the field, and we're still trying to, despite all what is going on in the world, obtain people that are willing to collect that data for us in even Russia, Brazil and South Africa. So we're doing something a little bit different here, other than what other people are doing, and I reckon there is an objective as to why they choose to cover their information by the way that they do, and they are obviously probably more in it for what they can earn out of it, as opposed to what they can do to help others. And what they do is, in my view, really poor effort at that, because they cherry pick their data. This is what you've got to remember on YouTube and on the internet. It's not proper organisations that have legislation guiding them, or even I suppose the goodwill to report things honestly and accurately as they should. And they're probably driven, like a lot of things in this day and age, by the motivation of money. And you have to realise this. But what I think is more harmful is when they are taking your attention away from probably the things that should be, on the forefront of your attention right now, like this possibility of a looming war. What will you do if war does break out? Will you give up right now and say we won't stand a chance in any case, so what's the point? So you've given up before you've even showed yourself the ability to succeed. That's the sort of attitude that we try and discourage here on this observatory and on this channel. We want you to be able to face whatever you need to. It's about being optimistic, not pessimistic. We want you to be prepared for anything. And I will always say this, human beings are very adaptive creatures. We've managed to conquer, living on the terraform of this earth, under the oceans and above the skies, even in the skies, into space even. We are very adaptive creatures, and whatever comes our way, we can learn to adapt to that new environment and that situation at that point in time. We want people to know that they're very capable of doing that, but you've got to take a bit of initiative yourself. You've got to take precautions, and they don't cost a lot of money. A little bit of food storage will see you thrive far more than anyone, given a situation, whether it is localized or a global situation. Some provisions. Let's hope that we never see a nuclear war. We never need things like these, But if you've got them, it's something that you can pick up this stuff cheap. If you've got them, it's always there. If you haven't got them and these things happen, that's a real bad situation to find yourself in. It's about being prepared for anything that comes your way if you are determined to survive. We're going to see a lot of things in the coming years. I guarantee you that. We need to be ready, is what I say. You don't need to be worrying about the Thunderbolts project or the squatting man, or whether you can buy or not free-range eggs. And I'm just talking about a few of these channels that that put this stuff out. Okay, let's have a look at some of the real facts, the things that are really happening in our world before we end the video. Before we do that, there is a link down there if you want to help support what we do. Like I say, right now we are running at less than 50% what we did last month with regards to fees that we've raised here. It cannot go on like that, guys. We need to get serious. I really get frustrated sometimes. I think it's sad that people don't understand the legitimate concerns we have and the help that we're trying to give. Okay, let's just have a quick look at some of the things that we're facing, the things that are really happening, and they're bad enough without going down the hole in an Alice in Wonderland scenario. So, okay, starting with the first of the three main things that you need to be keeping your attention on, and I will say this right now, there is a fourth, and I'll get to that at the end of the three, because this one has just recently proposed itself. You might have a guess at what that is, but we are looking at the last 400,000 years of interglacial and glacial periods. You can see at zero where we are right now. What do you think is going to happen next? Are we going to go even, or do you think we are going to go cooler? Well, common sense and logic should tell you that we are returning back into a glacial period. If you're one of these global warmists that are using as your excuse, well, it's not just focusing on the Arctic and Antarctic regions, we're also focused on the ice and the glacial amounts of frozen water in the Himalayas that has totally evaporated. Well, what do you expect? What do you expect? We've been in an interglacial period for the last 12 to 15,000 years. We're at the end of that glacial period. Just be a little bit more patient and you'll start to see even rebound in these Himalayan mountains where these glaciers are stored. Just be patient. This is what happens when we have interglacial periods. These short periods, as you can see, that have happened 5 times now in the history of the last 400,000 years, and interglacial and glacial periods go on a lot longer. As you know, if you follow the videos, it's all to do with the Milankovitch cycle, where our Earth takes a slight elliptical orbit than normal every 100,000 years and goes a little bit further away, and that causes a general cooling of the planet, which causes the glacial periods to come back on. One thing to note is that they last 90 odd thousand years each time they go back into a glacial period. And before we move on to the second one, I'll just say we are 6,000 years into that cycle. So it could be a long-term prediction, which is going to happen whether you like it or not. We are definitely going to return into that. We're 6,000 years already into it, but that is going to happen, right? This is no Alice in Wonderland scenario. This is taking place right now and could be hindered by the next two things I'm going to show you. Number 2 on the list of things you should be concerned about is the grand solar minimum. This is the last 35 years of recorded sunspots activity. Reason why this should be of concern to you is because this shrinks the heliosphere, which protects not just our planet but the whole solar system. And when the sun goes through a low solar output, that bubble that protects us, like our magnetosphere, shrinks. As a result, it allows intergalactic and galactic cosmic radiation in through that heliosphere that protects us, that is shrinking right now. And unless the sun starts to increase in its activity of solar sunspots, then it is going to continue to shrink and not inflate to protect us as it has done prior to this grand solar minimum. So that is number 2 on there. And what this, I will just briefly say, if you watch the videos, you know what this results in, don't you? An increase in cosmic radiation, and that in turn modifies our jet streams on our planet. Number 3 is the Earth is currently going through a magnetic reversal, has been doing so, and started since the 1900s, and has increased twice-fold, and we may have recorded the 3rd time that it has done that recently in the last 8 months. As you know, if you've been following us, the magnetic North Pole was doing around an average of 4 miles per every month, and it has gone up to nearly 4.2 on average every month. There's been a slight indication that it has increased in speed and is moving further away at shorter spaces of time, covering more distance. In other words, you should be concerned about this, because when the magnetosphere collapses, if it doesn't come back up, then we end up with a planet that looks like Mars. If it does collapse for a period of time, cancer rates will increase and cardiac arrhythmic failure will increase. And that will not just affect human beings, it will affect all biodiversity on the planet, all of the biodiversity on our planet. And as we've seen over the last 30 years of the last uptick in the speed of migration, the modifications and changes to our climate on our planet. That is why, every week that goes past now, there is a major incident that has affected thousands and thousands of people at some point on our planet. So we should be really concerned about that, alongside with the Grand Solar Minimum, because they both enable more cosmic radiation to affect our upper atmosphere, modifying those jet streams. And finally, the fourth one, which is a recent one over the last month, which has started through Russia invading Ukraine and now NATO supplying Ukraine with weapons. It's probably just a matter of time before Russia say, look, we are already at war with NATO. It is NATO that is supplying the Ukrainians the weapons to kill our soldiers. We don't know how far that could escalate, and at what point, NATO do decide to declare that they are officially at war with Russia. But we know what will be the outcome, because whichever side loses to the point where the only thing left in their arsenal is a nuclear weapon, it will be launched. And we could also see other countries, like we're already seeing now, Belarus, Chechnya, get involved in helping Russia. We could also see that extend to China, Iran and Syria, if not already. Unofficially, they are. So, for that reason, you should be concerned and prepared for those sort of events. Maybe buy yourself a nuclear biological warfare suit, cheap on eBay while they are still cheap, because it's like everything. When everyone gets word of something, then there's a panic on that. You could see a simple respirator go from £5 at normal times to £1,500, because it is supply and demand. Guys, get yourself a bug out bag, get yourself a little bit of food preparation. If you want to offset the costs of your living costs, by all means grow some food, but know that these four scenarios could really ruin your day if one of them chooses to at any given point in time, and that is if it hasn't already did so. There's no need for Alice in Wonderland scenarios, Thunderbolt projects, squatting man syndrome or whatever, free range eggs that people say you can't possibly buy and the shops are already empty. Why not just take yourself off to the shops to see and verify that little thing yourselves? I understand not everyone's got a Trimax system, but that's why we're here for you. We've got the Trimax system, bespoke equipment that would cost any other person hundreds of thousands of pounds. We've got all sorts of equipment here to monitor CO2, oxygen levels, you name it. We've got it, and that's what we're doing, providing a service for those people that not ordinarily shouldn't even have to have that equipment. That's why we've got it for you. That's why we ask you to support us, because at least we can keep you informed truthfully as to what is going on with those things that we're able to monitor for you. Link down there if you want to help support us. You have a great afternoon, guys, and as always, bye for now.